Welcome to the virtual Interact Sponsor Club and Advisor webinar. We're so happy that you have joined us for this training as part of the Rotary, Rotaract, and Interact community. My name is Anna C. Bajo. I'm the Program and Engagement Specialist for the Young Leaders team at Rotary International. Before introducing you to our panel and moderators, I'm going to go over a few instructions. Please note, this session will be recorded. You can protect your identity by limiting your participation. Recordings of the panel will be emailed and posted next week. Because of how many people are on our webinar today, attendees will not have the ability to turn their cameras or audio on. Recordings and resources mentioned in the panel will be emailed next week. If you are just joining us and need interpretation, click the globe in your meeting controls located at the bottom of your desktop or app screen and select your language. Today, we are providing interpretation in Japanese, Korean, French, Portuguese, Spanish. We are happy to offer closed captioning in English for this meeting. Please select CC Live Transcript at the bottom of the Zoom toolbar, including an option to hide subtitles if you prefer not to see them. Please note, these captions are machine generated and accuracy may be limited. We invite you to use both the Q&A and chat options located in your meeting controls. We recommend using the chat pane for comments and general discussion, and the Q&A options for specific questions you would like the panelists or Rotary staff to address. This is also where you can let us know if you're having technical difficulties. Simply describe the problem you are having, and a Rotary staff member will assist you right away. We have a team who will work to answer as many questions as possible directly, but we cannot guarantee that all questions will be answered given the number of people with us today. And finally, we value your opinion. Please take a couple of minutes and complete the survey that will be shown to you at the end of the webinar. And now I would like to welcome our panelists. Maria Vittoria Mavi Giaragiulo, Rotarian, Rotaractor, and Interact Advisor, Italy. Louise Gonzalez, Rotarian and Interact Advisor, USA. Christine Gregg, Rotarian, Interact Alumni, and Interact Advisory Council to the Board 2021 through 22, South Africa. Maureen Rosman, Interact Alumni, USA. Rav Nathal Panaswamy, Rotarian and Interact Advisor, India. Our co-moderators are Hia Jain and Sheena Dorado. Hia and Sheena are both alumni of the Rotary International Interact Advisory Council. Both have brought youth voice and perspective on a local and global level to Rotary and its constituents, including presenting at a breakout session at the 2023 International Convention in Melbourne. The future is now, Youth Voice in Rotary. Hia and Sheena, can you give us an overview, a snapshot of your club when you were active as a member? What was the size of the club? What did the club excel at?
Thank you, Ms. Anna. Hello, everyone. I'm Hia. I'm an alum interactor from a club based in New Delhi. So my club had about 60 active participants with an overall involvement of 150 students. And every year, about 8 to 10 members formed the council of our club. Our primary focus was community development, where we cater to rural areas based in Delhi. And we gradually shifted gears to international understanding. I would now like to pass on to Sheena to kickstart our conversation for today.
Thanks, Hira and Anna. I'm Sheena, and I'm now based in Shanghai, China. And I started 2 Interact clubs in my hometown, Cebu, Philippines. I'm an Interact and Interact Advisory Council alumni, and the first of which at 15 years old, which garnered a membership of 120 youth in the community in its first month. The club supports long-term beneficiaries and run effective and interactive fundraisers monthly. And today I'm very excited to hear of more brilliant youth success stories. Welcome to our Interact sponsors and advisors, and we hope to recreate and inspire these stories among our youth together. Now, let's go ahead and jump right on with the questions. To get to know our panelists better, as well as their clubs and experience with Interact, I'd like to ask for an overview, a snapshot of your club from when you were an active member. What was the size of that club? And what did your club excel at? Perhaps Maureen can go ahead and answer this first.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Gina. My school club based in California would have about 200 active members that would attend at least 1 to 2 events each month. We would host general meetings, socials, and hands-on community service projects, such as volunteering at local food pantries or creating blankets for homeless shelters. We had committees such as fundraising, which would allow students to get more involved in the club and help support our international projects, which we collaborated with schools in our district for. We always had so much fun, whether we were working in the gardens at our partnering elementary schools or getting coffee at a local cafe to support our club's fundraisers.
Thank you, Maureen. Now I'd like to call on Christine to answer the same question.
Thanks, Gina. So my school-based club, about a quarter of our high school students were involved in Interact in some form or another, where we had about 120 official members of the club, of which about 80 were active members. And because we had the age range from 13 all the way through 19, we were always doing a range of different service projects. And for us, it was all about that hands-on experience, getting into the communities and building those networks. So we had some consistent fundraisers, but they were quite small. However, something that we really excelled at was tapping into those leadership development opportunities for our youngsters coming in at 13 so that they could, be part of the committee and leading in Interact.
Thank you for that, Christine.
Awesome. I would like to direct the same question to the advisors of our panel. I'll reiterate the question. Can you give us an overview, a snapshot of your district? Please share about the club you're the sponsor or advisor from. What is the size of your club? How often does it meet? And what does your club excel at? I would like to invite Ralph Noel to share his views on this.
Thank you, Hina. Hope I'm audible. I belong to RA District 3201, which is in South India, where we have 2 states, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. I belong to an E-Club. Our E-Club sponsors 2 Interact clubs. The club for which I am an advisor is a school-based Interact club, and that has around 30 members. The club meets twice a month during school time at a school premises. The club does well with leadership training programs, conducting events and competition among all other children in the school, and they love embarking on service learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mavi, I would love to know more from you.
Thank you, dear. So both the club I was part of back in the days and the one my Rotary club is sponsoring at the moment are very small. It's like 10 to 15 members. They are in the whole range of age of Interactors, and they are all made by daughters and sons of Rotarians. That's their peculiarity, I would say. Thank you.
Awesome. Luis, what about you?
Hello, my name is Luis. I am a district director for Interact at 5930 here in Texas. I run a high school-based Interact club. We currently have about 250 members that meet every first and third Monday of the month. Our club, because of its size, can handle multiple projects. We break down our large number into smaller committees, which allows us to spread our leadership roles. I guess our club excels in teaching leadership skills throughout our committees. And with that, we're able to take on multiple roles in local, national, and international projects.
Thank you for that. What amazing experiences. Truly, we have a lot to learn from all of you today. Now we're just curious about your personal journey with Interact. For all of our panelists, what has been your Interact journey? How did you become an interactor, sponsor, or advisor? What have been the challenges and the rewards? Let's start with Mavi.
Thank you, dear, for such a nice question. I joined Interact back in 2005 because my father was on the board of his Rotary club. They needed pupils to join the Interact club. I didn't like it at all. On one hand, I was not there on my will, and on the other hand, the majority of the other interactors kept acting, as if they were all Rotarians and not teens. I left as soon as my father left the board. I joined my Rotary club on my initiative in 2012, and last year I became a Rotarian. The president of my Rotary club immediately appointed me as advisor of the for Rotaract and Interact. For this reason, I think that the biggest challenge is keeping interactors involved, and you can only do that by understanding their perspective and the perspective of the Interact generation.
Thank you, Mavi. Now let's have Louis to answer the same question.
Thank you. I'm a founding member of our Rotary Club here in Los Fresnos, Texas. Our club is 5 years old, so it is a little young. I am also a city council member of the city of Los Fresnos. I'm a teacher at our local high school, and I'm also a former golf coach. I was asked by our founding president, Donald Henderson, to take on a new challenge and build an Interact program. After 2 years of trying to juggle golf and our Interact club, I knew there was something I had to give. But for me, after doing 12 years of golf, and I knew what Rotary had in its process and its mechanism, that Interact was going to give so much more fulfillment to my students. The international mechanism in place that Interact Club has creates opportunities for these students to be able to achieve at a much higher level. I have used what Rotary has created to teach students about the Rotary Club itself. Our students, with the support of Rotary Club of Los Fresnos, our surrounding Rotary clubs in our neighboring area, and our District 5930, are able to achieve a local and global impact. Rotary International allows me to teach our students the global power behind our Interact Club.
Awesome. Thank you, Louis. Now let me call on Christine to answer the same question.
I joined Interact when I was 13, and to be quite honest, I was quite afraid to join at first because at my school, it seemed to be more for the older, those kind of transitioning out of high school, but we had amazing teachers, advisors, and I joined and I found that my fears were completely unfounded. After Interact, I jumped straight to Rotary, and I've been a Rotarian for about 1.5 years. And I'm actually now in the process of transitioning to Rotaract. I've opted out of being a dual member and kind of focusing on this next path in Rotaract. But my time in Interact, which did involve some of the COVID time, which was a really challenging time for us all, it brought me to a great international community of other fellow Interactors and Rotaractors. So it's been really amazing post-COVID, meeting these people at conventions and collaborating in such regard. And also then taking my knowledge from Interact in high school, and when I started working in educational environments, applying what worked then now into the curriculum and service project. So whilst the school I'm currently at might not have an Interact club, it's been great, using that knowledge in other spheres of life.
Thank you, Christine. Now let's have Maureen.
Thank you. I had actually heard about Interact before I even went into high school. It was one of the largest clubs at my high school, so I knew I had to go to our first club meeting. And really just from that first meeting, I knew that this Interact community at my school was amazing. I have been an interactor for the past 4 years, where I participated at the club level, district, and even internationally through having the opportunity to speak at international convention. And I actually met Christine and Hia at convention this past year, so it was amazing. I've really learned so much about leadership and public speaking and built my international network through Interact. And I'm now looking to transition into Rotaract at my college and really help other Interact alumni do the same through spearheading our district's alumni association. I believe that finding time to be a part of Interact and Rotary has always been hard, but really being a part of this family is always the reward. It's amazing.
Great. I am in the same process of transitioning from Interact to Rotaract. That's amazing. And lastly, for this question, let's have Rathnaville.
Thank you, China. As someone who had seen this transition, I would also love to answer this question. My journey as an interactor started 30 years back. As a sophomore, I joined the newly formed Interact Club in our school. I joined the club assuming that it was meant for talkative people, that part of Interact. The teacher in charge of the club was also new to the school. He informed us that interactors were entitled to attend meeting of Rotary, which takes place in a grand hall. My friend and I didn't believe him, and we wanted to check out whether it was true. So without any idea, my friend and I visited the Rotary Club meeting that day. It was a wonderfully organized meeting, and we got to know about the birds of our city from a very famous ornithologist. After the meeting, the president of the Rotary Club came to us. She spoke to us and told us what Interact really is, and that it's a Rotary program for young leaders. She instilled that we need to develop our leadership skills, and we had potential to become great leaders. She was the first one to say that to me in my entire lifespan at that time. She asked us to join Rotaract and Rotary and remember that we need to nurture not only the leader in us, but the next generation of leaders in the society. Let me not forget to mention that I went to a meeting of another Rotary Club and not the one that sponsored us. She was very welcoming, made time for us, and made us believe that we could be leaders. That was a life-changing moment for me, and her words were like gospel. I went on to become a Rotaractor for a decade, and then I joined Rotary, 10 years in Rotary now. So, but once I joined Rotary, I wanted to ensure that we have Interact clubs to tap the leadership potential of young children in our country. I great joy in seeing Interactors turn into Rotaractors and would love to see them excel in Rotary in future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratnaval. I really love to see the Rotary generations come to be. And thank you so much to our panelists. Truly, everyone hails from different backgrounds, and I'm glad that wherever each of you may have come from or have gone through, you were still able to touch the lives of the youth, and those were wonderful stories. And before we proceed with the next question, I would like to share a short video from one of our Interact Club advisors back in my home country, the Philippines, and her thoughts on the role of an Interact advisor.
Dear Rotarians, Rotaractors, and Interactors, I am honored to serve as the advisor for the Santa Rosa Science and Technology High School Interact Club. As a former Interactor in high school and Rotaractor in college, I embrace this role with enthusiasm and dedication. My primary goal as an advisor is to bridge our school and the Rotary Club of Santa Rosa Centro, supporting interactors in achieving our club's objectives and fostering a vibrant community of well-rounded individuals. Advisors also serve as motivators and sources of inspiration, nurturing potential, recognizing strengths, and providing encouragement when faced with challenges. We create an environment of open dialogue and constructive feedback, fostering camaraderie and mutual growth. Furthermore, advisors play a crucial role in ensuring club sustainability, helping set long term goals, and structuring activities for continuity. We impart valuable skills related to leadership, communication, and teamwork, benefiting members beyond our club. Our mentorship brings expertise, guidance, and inspiration, shaping members' journeys and showcasing their talents. Effective communication and collaboration are essential, not just within our club, but also with other advisors and Rotarians. Let's collaborate, innovate, and make our club an inspiring and inclusive space for all. Together, we will achieve great things and create hope in the world. Thank you.
I'm sure all of us take something back from this incredible video. We see long-term success when sponsors are invested in their Interact clubs. So my question for the panel is, what can you do as an interactor to build that connection between sponsoring clubs and their Interact clubs? I would also like to touch upon one of the most significant discussions we have had as a youth-centric council, which is the need for adult Rotary participants to extend an invitation to the youth to make them feel like they belong. And this stems from effective communication. So I'm also curious as to how you create open and clear communication with sponsors, advisors, and Interact clubs. I would like to invite Mehreen to share her thoughts on this.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think Interact clubs in my district are truly run by the students. We make the decisions, we plan the activities, and we host the events. Our faculty advisors are simply there to ensure that we don't run into any issues. Our Rotary Youth Service Chair and other Rotarians are always at our meetings and ready to lend a helping hand. My Interact Club had an amazing relationship with our sponsoring club and youth service chair. Our Rotary members would come out to all of our meetings and constantly check in on our club activities and be there to support us whenever we needed absolutely anything. They would often invite us to their events and we would collaborate on projects that really fostered a sense of connection between the two communities. While our school advisors were less involved in the club, the additional support from Rotary always made sure we succeeded.
Thank you for sharing that. I would like to direct the same question to Mavi.
That's a very nice question. The first thing I told the interactors in our very first meeting is, I don't care how old you are, I'm going to treat you like adults. Because then you will have to behave like adults. Because when young people are given high expectation, they can rise to meet them. But I mean that I wanted them to be the protagonist of their experience and not just passive to why they were there. I asked them to share, to tell me what they liked about their Interact experience, but also what they didn't like. I offered them support to change what they didn't like together. That is, I believe, how you create clear and open communication. You need to be the first one to actively listen to them and to put them at the center of the action. Not your perspective, it's their perspective. That's important.
Thank you. I really admire what you mentioned about age not being a limiting factor. I would like to invite Rath Noel to throw some light on this question.
Thank you, Ria. I think you mentioned the right word. Interactors need to feel that they belong here. Being an e-club, it is easy for us to invite our interactors for club meetings and important online events. They always like interacting with elder people, and particularly when they are far away from the place they live in. I think a RILA for interactors would be a great way to get them involved. In-person RILAs within the district and also international RILAs on them. Further, I would like to add an instance. As a part of service learning, we had a Rotarian and Rotaractor from our district address the interactors on how they are fighting pediatric cancer through a global grant project. The interactors got so engrossed and they also wanted to be a part of the project. Overall, I think consistent connections would always ensure immaculate involvement of interactors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know that a lot of us here are both Rotarians and Rotaractors. So I would like to take this opportunity to share a video from a Rotaract club that co-sponsors an Interact club based in Lyon, France. And it is a great way to have near peers involved with Interact.
A Rotaract Club was created in 1994 by former students that were back from Rotary International Program. Since then, we have a very strong relationship with our Rotary Sponsor Club. For example, we create all year round events and projects together. As an example of this strong relationship, we have had the chance to have 2 members of our Rotary Sponsor Club for each of our meetings last year.
Our club members have seen the crucial relationship that we have with our Rotary Club. So we decided to duplicate this bond with a new generation full of energy and idea. All this happened 1.5 years ago when a teenager visitor came to our club and she was interested in humanitarian clubs. So we proposed to her to be one of the co-founders of the Interact Club sponsored by us.
Being involved in the Rotary family will increase, no matter our age, our global impact on our communities.
As Rotaractors, being in the middle of the structure creates strong links with volunteers from different ages. This helps us to be more creative, to learn from each other, to be more engaged, and especially to improve our leadership.
We encourage any fellow Rotaractors to co-sponsor Interact clubs.
It is so exciting to see Rotary actors come and step up to be Interact sponsors as well. Talk about Rotary generations. Anyway, anyone who has participated in service projects knows how much learning can occur for participants when it's intentional in design. Learning about themselves, about social issues, project management, and more. Luckily, Rotary International has sources available to help create those service learning moments in Interact. Attendees are encouraged to access the service learning online courses and workbooks in Rotary's Learning Center. Now, Louis, can you tell us about how you've incorporated service learning into your Interact Club?
Thank you, Sheena. Rotary Club is a network that allows us to identify the need inside and outside of our community. I've mentioned before, we seek to make leaders out of our students and support them through their leadership journey. Through our service work, we teach students how to implement plans of action, if it's feasible or not, and we help guide them through this process. If a student comes to me with a project or an opportunity, I quickly turn it around on them and ask them if they're willing to lead on this project. If students are able to get a committee together and assist each other, we then go ahead and follow forward with that plan. I feel it is only just as a sponsor for Interact to help these students achieve a goal that is much bigger than them. Being part of Rotary, this network is vast and its scope is deep. So we have a lot of resources available for them within the Interact program and also within the Rotary clubs that surround them. If you search enough, you will find a Rotary club or an Interact club that is out there that shares their same goals. So these students don't have to do it on their own. I picture Rotary International, I picture them as a wheel, right? And just like the Rotary wheel that we have, its cog and its mechanism moves. And sometimes you need the smallest of the wheels to be able to move the big international wheel that Rotary has. So I tell these kids that we're part of a system. Then with that, Rotary International depends on us and we depend on it as well. So I make sure that these students understand that we're part of a big picture and a small picture. So their perspectives are not just within themselves, but also they take themselves outside and learn what they can do for others. I always tell the students before they graduate, to be part of something that is bigger than themselves, and Rotary International is always just around the corner. So no matter where they go around the world, they can always join a Rotary club or a Rotaract club that will make them feel at home. Thank you.
Definitely. Seeking to create leaders out of students is an amazing perspective to take as a school-based club advisor. Thank you so much, Louis.
Own experience as an interactor, I found myself initially only participating in community-based projects. And I think it was only 2 years into my Interact journey that I explored the international aspect of Rotary. And that made me realize how impactful it can be to work with clubs from around the world. So my question for the table is, how have you found local projects? And what advice do you have for building international understanding? Christine, I would like to direct this question to you.
That's a really good question. Thank you, Hia. So in terms of finding local projects, connections were everything to us. So family members often had NPOs or friends of family members. And in South Africa, there was so much good and still is so much good that people want to do. So finding organizations to help and build those relationships with wasn't so tricky for us. And we also had a very creative and diverse group of interactors. So we had NPOs that we were connected to spanning various different areas of focuses, which we then tapped into. In terms of the international aspect, so COVID really did give way and allow us to build those connections. So some of our club members did twinning meetings and to this day are still connected with others that they met during that online time in the world, because unfortunately for us, we don't have many exchange students. So really that time allowed for us to, see what was going on in the world and collaborate on international service projects.
Great, thank you. Luis, what about you?
Yes, I guess as an Interact sponsor, the main and most important thing that you need to understand is to listen to your club. The students can guide you, know its limitations and its possibilities. I guess one of the most impactful projects that we had was our first international project. As I was looking and seeing Facebook and trying to find an international project that our kids could do since we were growing, I had a student that came to me and asked me if a small project right across our border in Mexico would be considered an international project. She told me of a poor community whose elementary school playground was deteriorated and was unsafe. She showed me pictures and videos. I asked her how she knew about this village. So she explained how her mother and father came from there, but now live separately on each side of the border so that they can have a better education here in the United States. So every weekend she would travel back to this village and she would pass by this elementary school. And she appreciated everything that she had here in America and would always kind of see the difference and the benefit. I told her that I would be honored, right, to help her figure out a way to build a playground in that village in Mexico. She had to share her story, though. I told her that's not my story. It would come best and it would work best if she would, allow herself to share that story to others. From that day forward, I made Miss Eileen Baez my international project manager. Her committee fundraised $4,000 on her own. They traveled around neighboring Rotary clubs and picked up monetary donations by giving presentations, sharing their project goals with other clubs, and they also presented it to the district governor and local businesses. Altogether, they managed to raise $7,000 with that money. They were able to reach out to Rainbow Play Systems, a playground company. After hearing their story, the playground company Rainbow Play Systems was so inspired that they also wanted to help, and they gave the students a discounted rate of a $14,000 play set for the $7,000 that the students had. So a lot of this was the students' initiative. I, as a sponsor, just gave them the mechanisms and the network that was already in place for them to be able to achieve this. The playground just crossed the border last week, so we're very excited because right now it's currently being built. We reached out to Matamoros Rotary Club Industrial in Mexico because they had also heard about our story and they wanted to assist. So they took care of the installation and they're taking care of the building right now of that playground set in that elementary school. I also told the Interactors that it's important for us to be able to share our stories because as a club, we are a family and we can also help empower ourselves. This year, we're taking on 3 international projects because of the success of our playground called Niños al Recreo. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think stories like these make me realize how impactful we are as a community. I would like to now direct the same question to Mavi.
Hi, thank you again. So I think that a great tool that you have, it's to work in synergy with your district team and with your youth exchange committee. Inbound and outbound are at the interact age, and they are great examples of sharing cultures and building international understanding.
I think there's some connection issue at her end.
Mavi will come back to you for that question. I'm going to turn that back to you to continue on.
All right,
Hi, can you hear
Sheena.
me?
Mavi, we aren't able to hear you properly. Can you give it one more shot? Or maybe we can move on with the next question.
Yeah, if you can hear me, that's great. I can see you well now.
All right.
Everything
All right,
is good.
go ahead.
So I was saying that I think it's a great tool. It's to work in synergy with the district team and with the youth exchange committee, because inbound and outbound interactors, inbound and outbound Rotex basically are at the interact age because they are 16, 17, and they're a great example of sharing cultures and building international understanding. Having an inbound or an outbound come to an interact club and share their experience as Rotex, it's a great source of inspiration. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Definitely. I've met so many amazing friends from Rotex. And yeah, now let's move on to our next question, one that we must address, especially to our Interact sponsors and advisors. Understanding youth protection is essential to truly have a seamless and safe service environment for our Interact members. For Mavi and Christine, what is the advisor and sponsor's role in youth protection? Mavi, you may go ahead first.
So Rotary International strive to create and maintain a safe environment for all youth who participate into Rotary activities. To the best of their ability, Rotary members, their partners, and other volunteers must safeguard the children and the young people with whom they come in contact, and to protect them from physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. What I just recited was the statement of conduct for working with youth by Rotary International. It is very important that every advisor actively listen to spot any crisis into the clubs between interactors. Rotary International has many resources on the website that you can use in order for you to train yourself for youth protection. Christine, I'm sure you have something to add to that, though.
Definitely. Thank you, Marvi. It's such an important topic, especially in this digital time that we live in, particularly with youth presence online. So consent forms, just to post, your different Interact clubs faces on social media is ever so important. And it's important as an advisor or a sponsor to inform the students that they have, or interactors, that they have the right to say no. They don't want their faces online, because often you might not be there at collaborative Interact project events and photos are taken of them, and they can say no to that. So it's important that they are aware of these rights, and it's important that you understand it, and Rotary has great resources, as Marvi mentioned, to then transfer this knowledge to your interactors.
Thank you, Mavi and Christine. That was great. And thank you so much for mentioning wonderful resources as well. And again, to our audience, the links and resources shared in this session will be shared to you via email in a week.
All right. The next question is my personal favorite because it integrates our panelists' experiences. The question is, what was a successful Interact project, either community service or international understanding, that your club has achieved? Luis, I would love for you to start.
Thank you, Hia. Another successful project we had this past year was applying for a grant from General Motors and the National Youth Leadership Council. We were able to travel to Nashville, Tennessee, promoting youth driver awareness. So our goal was to instill safe driving in students. Since here in the United States, they start driving from age 16. It's best that we saw that we instill safe driving at this age so that they can continue these habits throughout their life. So we used a marketing campaign through social media like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. And we were, like I mentioned, invited to Nashville, Tennessee to share in this campaign message with the National Youth Leadership Conference. We took our Interact banner and our bell, and everywhere we go, I tell these students, it's important for us to be able to present ourselves as Interact Rotary members. So the kids made fun of me because the bell was a little heavy, as most of you all know, and I almost broke the limit on the baggage weight. So I was almost going to be paying a little bit more. But it was very exciting when I got to put up our banner, our skirt, our table skirt, our bell, and our folders that Rotary has provided for us to purchase on its website. So as the kids started describing their project, we started learning that complete strangers were coming up to them and introducing themselves as Rotarians from California, from India, from Canada, from Georgia. We met Dr. Gomez, a Rotarian from Honduras, we are now collaborating on an international project. And it was very exciting for me to see the smiles on my students' faces because there were Rotarians from all parts of the world coming to meet them. And it was that Interact banner with the rotary wheel that connected us all together. So I guess that's one of the best experiences that I had was the fact that I was able to connect our students to the larger international aspect of what Rotary International can be. Thank you.
Thank you. I personally love that you use a bell. Marine, I'm excited to know more from you about your favorite project.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of Interact is that we are really able to create a tangible impact in both our direct community and communities around the world. In the past year, our school collaborated with about 60 of the other Interact clubs in our district to raise awareness about the lack of access to clean water around the world. We hosted events where we brought in speakers from partnering organizations and posted infographics on our social media to raise awareness about this issue and get students invested in our project. We also planned fundraisers to build international understanding around the issue, and we were able to build water systems for about 15 families in Honduras through our partnering organization, Water First. It was an amazing experience working with an international organization and collaborating with them through all of our schools.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Christine, what about you?
Oh, well, arguably my favorite and what I would deem also our most successful kind of community-based Interact project is volunteering at parkruns. So parkruns are free weekly timed events that happen all around the world. I believe they span 6 continents. There's over 2,000 locations dotted around the world. And it's a 5K course that you set up, and they're always needing volunteers to help with timing or course reviews, etc. So we got our interactors involved over 5 years ago. We started this project, and then it was amazing seeing our interactors come together, really, bringing their spirit and helping out for a good cause for a couple hours on a Saturday morning at the most beautiful locations. And I think the reason it's such a big success is it's been a couple of years since I was in Interact. I don't have direct contact with my club anymore, but there are still interactors that are going and volunteering at these events. And it's something that, you just need time. So again, that hands-on project is what our club and area really thrived on.
Awesome, thank you. Let's hear about one more project from Rathnawel.
Thank you. Yeah. I think at their age, interactors are more fascinated by international understanding. And as the world's largest service organization, I think we can do that better. We periodically organize interaction program with youth exchange students, which is our local slang for Rotex. And we also do online meeting with interactors from other countries. The students enjoy these interactions very well, and they love this similarities and diversities between the interactors of different countries. I particularly remember an interaction with a Rotary youth exchange student or a Rotex, and he was overwhelmed by the amount of information the interactors had about his country. I think these interactions produce an exponentially peaceful society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratnaval and everyone. And what a wonderful exchange of projects we've had. And I can speak from experience as well when we say that the youth is capable of so much and more as long as we hand them the wheel. And I've been involved in purely youth-led projects as well, from local library refurbishing to nationwide service projects concerning disaster response back in the Philippines. And as sponsors and advisors, we make sure that our interactors are well supported in any way that they may need to truly unlock that potential for service. So now we are finally down to our last question, and I'd love for our panelists to give us a leaving message with this. What would be your one piece of advice to fellow interactors, advisors, or sponsors? And let's start with Ratnavo.
Thank you, Chin. One of the core values of Rotary is leadership. My advice to interactors, advisors, and sponsors is to ensure that we reach out to the future leaders of our society in the age group of 12 to 18 through our lovely program Interact. By engaging with interactors and ensuring that they get opportunities for leadership development, international understanding, and service learning, we need to inspire them. I'm sure this inspiration will lead them to become Rotaractors and end up as Rotarians, which will keep the torch of Rotary burning. My advice to interactors would be the same advice I got as an interactor. Understand your leadership potential, involve in Interact, evolve as a better leader, make this world a wonderful place to live in. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Ratnavo. Now for Louis.
Thank you, Sheena. I have 3 rules when it comes to running this program and the clubs and the projects that we do. Number 1 is you got to appreciate these students because they are very busy and they can be doing many other things. So appreciate the work that they do put in for you, for your Interact Club and the International Rotary program itself. You find programs that relate to them. Because you'll see these kids much more inspired. Like I mentioned, listen to them, and they themselves can help you guide your club and its growth. But most importantly, you've got to make it fun. You got to make sure that Rotary keeps to its founding. It's a 4-way test, right? Well, we have our 5th here in the United States, and it's make it fun. So make sure that these projects you do are fun for the kids to achieve. Don't make it arduous. Don't put too much pressure. So also know your schedules of schooling and their testing, right, when they're getting busy. So appreciate, make it relate, and make it fun.
That's amazing advice, Louis. Thank you so much. Now for Marie.
Yeah, I really loved seeing all the new clubs in the chat today. And one piece of advice I would have for Rotarians and sponsors, especially new ones, is to continue reaching out to different people on your Interact Club student leadership or people who are involved in your Interact Club at the high school or any of the schools. And sometimes as a student, it's really hard to reach out and make the first move, but we love that you are there to support us and make us feel welcome. So just keep reaching out.
Wonderful, Marine. Thank you so much. And now lastly, we have Mavi.
Actively listen from both sides. Because when Rotarians and Rotaractors are open to interact, they create opportunities. And appreciating interactors, you create an environment of mutual respect. But on the other hand, interactors have to appreciate Rotarians and Rotaractors as well. And connect with you as sponsors and advisors. So again, listen from both sides. It's important that you give responsibility and you appreciate interactors. On the other hand, interactors, it's important that you take on that responsibility and you appreciate what you've given. But the most important thing is while you do the whole thing, you have fun.
Thank you so much to everyone for your wonderful advice. I'm glad that we are seeing multiple perspectives, and surely everybody loves being appreciated, being shown gratitude, and being listened to. So thank you so much. Those were very, very inspiring of you all.
Thank you so much to our moderators and our panel. We got a number of really terrific questions in the chat and the Q&A. One question that we will have time to address asked about succession planning. How do sponsor clubs or Interact clubs keep that energy and investment going from year to year? knowing that there are a lot of competing activities and other things that both Rotaract and Rotary clubs are doing. How do we keep that energy going and invested? Luis, I'm going to address, if you could answer briefly on that, and then anyone else who would like to chime in before we go on to our next section about resources and some announcements.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. Like mentioned before by one of the panelists, don't be afraid to give leadership responsibilities to younger students. As a bigger club, we have seniors, juniors, but I also start my sophomores with smaller projects that they can get involved in. So by the time our seniors graduate, we already have an understanding, and these students have a leadership responsibility to take on. So don't be afraid to share some of that wisdom with younger kids, because sometimes we may want to focus on the older kids as well. And that should help build and continue that momentum forward.
Would anyone else like to share? I love hearing that perspective, Luis, about perpetuating that leadership role. What about with Interact clubs and what about Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs? How to keep them invested in supporting Interact clubs? Anyone?
If I can, I'm actually right now I'm connecting from the Rome Institute, and we're actually discussing about for the whole day about the reaction plan. And I think it's the same answer with Interact as well. You need to keep you need to make to keep the Rotaract and Interact experience worth. And you do that by, there is no single answer. It really depends also on where you are, because an answer that I could have in Italy could be completely different in Mexico or New Zealand or somewhere else in the world. But the key point is that that experience has to be worth. And then how to make that really depends on your culture. So you have to integrate it. We cannot like give you one answer that is good for everyone, but make it worth.
Make it have worth. Thank you so much. Hia and Sheena, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I know there's some resources that you're going to share with us and a couple short videos about some very exciting opportunities. So let me pass this back over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, panelists, for sharing your stories with us. We really appreciate everything that you do within Rotary. Your fellow sponsors and advisors, along with your interactors and alumni, are some of your best resources. We want to share some other resources Rotary International has for you. So we are putting links to the resources in the chat box. These will also be available in a follow-up email that you will receive along with the recording of the panel portion of the event. So the resources: Protecting Youth webpage. This resource contains all the resources that you need for training and supporting youth protection. Secondly, service learning. This is basically a course which can be found in the Learning Center courses, along with downloadable handbooks for advisors and interactors. Thirdly, an Interact Handbook, which is a guidebook for interactors. It is an updated and interactive guide for building and sustaining a club with tools for interactors to discover themselves as young leaders. And lastly, a new Interact Sponsor Club and Advisor Guide will be published by the end of 2023 and in all language and in official Rotary languages by the first quarter of 2024. And the just announced 2023 Interact Awards.
The theme for this year's awards is Promote Interact. We are inviting Interact clubs to create a promotional video, photo, and/or essay that raises awareness about Interact and shares what being an interactor means to them and their club. Let's watch the promo video.
Interact clubs create lasting change in their communities while growing as leaders. For the 2023 Interact Awards, we invite you to promote Interact and share what being an interactor means to you and your club. Create a video, photo, or essay for the chance to receive funds from Rotary International for your next service project. Submissions due by December 3rd, 2023. Learn more at the link.
The 2023 Interact Awards have just launched in English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, and Korean. Clubs can submit their nomination by 3 of December for the opportunity to be named Best Video, Best Photo, and Best Essay, and receive a financial award from Rotary International to support their next service project. Also, keep your calendars marked for World Interact Week taking place 30th October to 5th November. The Interact Facebook page will have updates on how to celebrate.
Thank you to our moderators and panelists and all who've attended. And a special thank you to all of you who work with youth. I want to remind you that there is a short survey at the end of the webinar that we ask you to participate in. It will help us with future programming. And we'd like to play a short video from our Interact panel, from our Interact Advisory Committee and Youth Advisory Council, both alumni and current members.
Rotary because we celebrate youth leadership.
Rotary because we are one big global family.
Rotary because it connects the world.
Rotary because it facilitates personal growth.
Rotary because we are people of action, improving lives in communities near and far.
With Rotary, I can integrate current events, global fellowship, and service.
With Rotary, I get to experience the world through the people I've met in it.
With Interact, you get to become young leaders.
With Rotary, no challenge is too big for us.
With Rotary, I can change the world.
With Rotary, I create lasting change across the globe, in my community, and in myself.
Thank you again, panelists, moderators, and Interact, Rotaract, and Rotary community for joining us today and for all of the work that you do in promoting youth voice and service within your community and throughout the world. Thank you all.